Hey everyone, we're gonna take a look at building a, C++ project that includes class definitions and it's object oriented. Okay, so this is our introduction. We're going to use the code that we saw in the lecture. Just going to build it from scratch. Okay, so let's go in the Visual Studio Code, or Visual Studio actually, because we can just use this one for now. Okay, create a new project. The new project, I'll make a console application. Go next. We'll just say CPP lecture 1, let's say, right? It's the OOP lecture. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We'll just give it a name here. Location is going to be desktop, and it's going to be in CPP lecture lec 1. Okay, we'll put it in a folder like that. Create that folder and say OK. Open it up, and what we're going to do is we're going to start building some classes. So we're going to change this, but what we could do, if we want to add a class, you can do it in two ways. We can manually add the header files and the source files, or we could go in here, right click, and then just go to class wizard, or add, okay, and you could put add a class. Okay, so we can give it a class name. So we're going to say elevator is the class name, so we're going to create a header file and a CPP file. No base class, access is public. Say OK. So it's going to create these two files. All right, so that's good. We could have used the wizard if we like, but we'll just do it from scratch. All that did was create an elevator.h and elevator.cpp. Here, our main file is going to be here. We're going to have to edit this. So let's go in. First thing we want to do, we need to define our class. Okay, so when we define our class, we're just going to use everything we saw in the lecture. So we have our private. Okay, private variables go here. So we had int, and then we had floor number. Okay, so that's one of our properties or member variables. We have a boolean door open, so this is going to hold the status if it's open or not, true or false. And then we have static const bool default door open equals true. Okay. All right. So again, static variables belong to the class. Okay, so this is something that belongs to the class. It's the same for every object. Okay, and so default it's open, and you have to change it to false. Okay, so we'll look at that after. We'll look at the details there. Okay, so these are our variables or our properties, or and these are always private because we want to keep the structure of our data secret, basically. Okay, and then here we're going to have our public methods. Okay, so a couple of things. One, we need constructors, and then we need a destructor, and then we need our methods for doing things with our private variables. So let's build an example in the class. We had two constructors, right? We have elevator. I hope I spell it right. Didn't. Elevator. Okay, and then we say this is one of them. So if we supply only one parameter, so this is new floor number. Okay, so this is one. So one parameter supplied, we'll call this constructor, and then we have another possible constructor, elevator, and then here we have the same thing, int new floor number. Close that off. Also, we have int, and then new door open. Okay, whether it's we can start it off as being open or closed, and we'll define these shortly. Okay, let's just define our destructor. You can label it if you like, destructor here, and then it's basically we have elevator elevator as our destructor, and we have nothing there. Okay. All right. Control S to save. Let's see what's going on here. What do they have a problem? 2 overloads. Oh, because the definition is not there. Yes. Okay. We're gonna do that in a second. We're gonna put that in elevator.cpp. Okay. Beautiful. Okay. So let's go to the other methods. You can label it as methods here, functions, whatever you want to call them, and then say void, and then set floor. Okay, and then here we have int new floor number. Okay, so here we have one function definition, or one function declaration. Again, it hasn't been defined anywhere. It will be defined in the elevator.cpp. Okay, so let's continue on. So as a member of this class, we also have get floor. So these are the setters and the getters, right? So this is going to return the information. So get floor doesn't take any parameters. We also have a open door function. It returns nothing. So open door, and then int, and then basically how much time in seconds to keep the door open for. Okay, and then we also have a compare function, which I haven't I talked about later in the lecture. So compare, and then elevator el. Okay, now we have to define these. Okay, so none of these functions have been defined. So what we need to do in order to do that, Control S, go to elevator.cpp. We include elevator.h, and then here is where we're going to define our functions. Okay, so we want to go. So we said elevator is the class of this function that we are defining, and then we have the first constructor elevator. Okay, and for this one, if there's only one parameter and it's an integer, then we're going to call this constructor new floor number. Okay, and then here's our definition. Okay, Control S, go back to elevator.h, and you'll see that this one has found the definition has been found. Okay, so oops, wrong one. We got to go to elevator.cpp. Open that up again. Okay, so we have this guy. We have there's 2 of them, right? So in fact, what we could do before we start writing the code here, copy this, and because they're overloaded, these are overloaded functions. We actually have the other constructor has int, and then new door open. I think oops, it does not have capital there. Control S to copy. Now if you go here, Control S, go here, you'll see that the next one is off. Let's take a look at what the issue is here. It says 2 overloads, variable elevator, door open is uninitialized. We'll take a look at that shortly, okay, because we haven't done it yet. Okay, so let's go in and define these. So floor number equals new floor number. Okay, and then we have door open equals default door open. Did I spell this right? Oh, you didn't spell it right. That's always first step. Default door open. Okay, so we have a variable called door open. Okay, and this is set to default door open. So if you go back to elevator.h, this door open had no value, right? So we want to set it to the default. The default for every we made it a constant. It belongs to every object instantiation. It's a boolean, and it's going to always be true. We could have just set it to true, but anyway, we go here. So we defined the first part of the first constructor. Let's define the next constructor. So the next constructor is it looks basically the same, except we have another another value. Okay, so if we go here, this constructor, it says, okay, floor number equals new floor number. That's the same as what we have above, except, oops, I spelled it wrong. All right. So new floor number, except now door open has can be it can be basically we're instantiating an elevator with a door that can be closed. Okay, so equals new door open. Okay, and I noticed something here. So door open in elevator.h is Boolean. Okay, so what I really should do here is I shouldn't make this an integer. I mean, anything non-zero will be true. I should make this Boolean, right? Just to make things this. Now this definition isn't correct, so I need to go and fix it here. Okay, so here I have, instead of an integer, this should be a bool. Okay, and now it's okay. Okay, so we have this correct. I think it's a little better that way, I would say. And Control S to save this guy too. Okay, so it's possible for this one to be false instead of true. Okay, so that's basically how this guy works. Now we need to define the constructor in our function here. Okay, so Control S, save. Now we want to go elevator. So we're defining for the elevator class scope resolution operator, and we say the destructor. Okay, and here we have nothing basically, and we're not going to define anything in here because we're going to have, there's no content for now. It's basically going to destroy the object, but I'm not going to do that right now. So it's just, it needs to be there because it needs an implementation because it's in the declaration. Okay. All right, let's take a look at the other functions that we have. So we have the set floor, get floor, open door, close door, and compare. Okay, so we have, let's write those. So we have, go back here. One thing you can do is you can actually go in and grab these if you really want to. So you say Control C, so that they have the same. Okay, it's not going to be perfect. We have to still type elevator in all of these. Okay, so that's that. This has to be a implementation. Okay, so that's that. The same thing has to happen here, and again, we also have to. It's part of elevator, the elevator class. So we need that scope resolution. Same thing here. It's an implementation. We're getting it from the elevator. We're defining for the elevator class. Okay, and the same thing for compare. Elevator right here. Okay, so save that. Now we can go through these implementations. I like putting spaces in between them, so it's a little bit nicer. And here, basically, setting the floor, what are we going to do? All we have to do here is say that the floor number, because we're setting the floor, right? Floor number is our variable, is our private variable, equals new floor number, which was supplied when the function was called. Okay, and get floor does nothing but return, right? Returns floor number, which is the private variable or property. Okay. Open door, time in seconds. We have to basically open the door. So we need to do a couple things. Basically, we got to check to see if the door is already open. Okay. So, I mean, we don't really need to do this check. Basically. Okay. So look. Let's just put the check in just for fun. So if door open equals false. Okay, basically if it's not already if it's closed, then we're going to open it. If not, then we're not going to open a door that's already open. So then we say door open is now true. And how long are we going to keep it open? Sleep for time in seconds, which was supplied by the user, okay, times 1000. It's because sleep is in milliseconds, right? Now, because we have sleep, this is a Windows function, so what we need to do is go up here and say include, and then we say capital Windows dot H, Control S, and now we have access to sleep. Okay, and then once the door, we keep the door open for those seconds, of that many number of seconds, and then we're going to call the close door function to actually go and close the door. I forgot to put a closed door function, I believe, in the elevator.h. Did I forget? Set floor, get floor, open door, yeah, closed door. So closed door is going to be, we're going to make it a void. So void, close door, and all it does is close the door, changes the variable. Okay, so we're going to go in. We need a definition, so take closed door and bring it here, and open door. So we need the same thing here. So we say void elevator. Okay, and then close door. It's just basically going to close the door. So we go here, and then we're going to say door open equals false. So we change that variable, that door open variable. Okay, so it becomes now false. And then we have this comparator function, which we talked about later in the lecture. And what does it do? It's it basically it's comparing, right? We could, okay, here, look, we're going to return whether or not this is true. So this, okay, and then get floor. Okay, so it's this object. So the object that was instantiated by this class, okay, the object that belongs to that particular object, right? So that's the object that that belongs to that the object whose method we're calling right now. Okay, so this object we call the get floor method, and we're basically saying, okay, if this object is greater than the one we're comparing to, so L is an object, or it's an element. Sometimes they use L, but anyway, so dot, and we're calling that get. We're calling the other object's get floor method. Okay, and we're basically saying return whatever if it's true or false. If let me explain that. If the object that we are using its get floor method is at a higher floor than the one we're comparing to, then return true, right? Because that's what this is going to evaluate to a true or false statement. Okay, so that's what's happening here. All right, Control S. So that's we're saving elevator.cpp, elevator.h. We go in here. We can use that if we want. We go in here and we can say, let's see. Okay, we're gonna go in here and let's include. Let's go here. Include elevator. .h, which is in the same project folder. Okay, so it found it. And then I'm going to say using namespace, the standard namespace. Okay, and then we have main. In main, we're going to start instantiating some programs. Okay, we don't really need all this run program stuff. We're going to close that out. If you want to keep it, you can, but I don't want to see it. So let's go in main, and here what we're going to do is start instantiating our objects. So we go elevator, okay, elevator 1 equals, and here we're going to call elevator, okay, and we're going to we're going to call the first constructor, and we're giving it the first floor. Okay, so we're instantiating an elevator, so it's being created, and it has a value of the first floor. Okay, so this is elevator number 1. and then we're using the first constructor. Okay, and here we're going to make another one, elevator. So it's an elevator object, ele2. Okay, and that is elevator, and we're calling the constructor again. We're going to create it on, set it on first floor 1, and then put a value of false. So the door is right. This is the first constructor, so this creates it with the door open. And this one is going to be created with the door, right? Elevator number 2, second constructor, and then made with door closed. Right? You could say, right? Or instantiated with the door closed, whatever you like. So we got 2 elevators. They're on the same floor right now, so I actually got to change one of them if we're going to use this compare function. So le1 dot set floor. So I'm changing the floor number. I'm going to put it to 3, same as we saw in the example. So send to floor 3 in this example. Okay, and then we're going to use the compare function to see which floor. Use compare function, right? Which takes the one elevator object as input. So which one are we going to? So we're going to say we can. Okay. So the compare function returns true or false, right? So if, okay, and here we could say le1. Okay, so we're using that object compare function, and so we need to provide it with another object to compare to. So le2 or elevator 2. Okay, then what we're going to do is we're going to output something. So in C++, we're going to use the cout. Okay, so we're going to say that we'll say le1 is higher than at a higher floor than le2. Okay, how's that? Because we have the, anyway, it's hard coded, but no problem. Close that, and then endl, end line. Okay, then else, if that's not true, then what we're going to do is we're going to cout, just say le2, or sorry, le1 is at a lower floor. Actually, we don't even need this le2 because anybody can put, how's that? Okay, and then something like that would work. And then that's it. And then we could, if we wanted to, we could ensure that it persists, right? The message, if there is any issues with persistence, I leave it for 5 seconds just for fun. Control S. What happened with our sleep? But because I didn't include windows.h. So here, include, and then I believe I can get it from here. I believe that also works as well. I should have probably done that here, just because it is a standard file. Control S. Okay, so it's probably better to do it that way. Okay, so here we sleep for 5 seconds, 5,000 milliseconds, and now what we should be able to do is see. Actually, I forgot one thing. In my main file, I have no return statement. So I'm going to return 0, so no error. And that's it, basically. So Control S. And then here we go. We can run it and see basically what should happen. Elevator 1 is at floor 3, so we should get this as our output if it was successful. Okay, so let's see what happens. And then if it was successful, then we will have the output for 5 seconds. Right here. Okay, elevator. Let's see what happens here. Let's build the project. Any le1 is at a higher floor. Okay, so that's what we have. And for 5 seconds, then it'll ask us to press any key. So that's it for it. This is just a very brief introduction to building building a project that it has classes. And so anyway, just so that you have some experience with doing it before we go into more complex projects. Okay, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you next time in the next class.